The sound of my father's funeral hymn still echoed in my head as I pulled into our driveway. A moving truck sat there like a bloated beast, its rear doors wide open, swallowing the contents of my life. Two men carried our leather couch, the one where Ryan and I spent countless Saturday mornings watching cartoons, down the front steps. I killed the engine. My hands trembled as I stepped out of the car, my black funeral dress catching on the doorframe. Mark stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching the movers with the same expression he used when supervising yard work. "What's happening?" My voice cracked. "Why are there movers at our house?" "Not our house anymore." Mark's lips curved into what might have been mistaken for a smile. "I sold it last week. You were too busy with your mother to notice the signs going up." The world tilted sideways. I grabbed the car door to steady myself. "You what?" "Sold it. Got a great price too. Grace Parker handled the listing, you remember her from the Christmas party?" He checked his watch. "Speaking of which, I need to meet her in an hour to sign the final paperwork." Grace Parker. The blonde real estate agent who'd spent the entire party laughing at Mark's jokes. The one who'd touched his arm too many times. "You can't sell the house without my signature," I said, but uncertainty crept into my voice. "Actually, I can. Remember that power of attorney you signed last year when I restructured our investments?" His smile widened. "You really should read the fine print, Layla." Ryan's bicycle lay toppled on the lawn. A mover approached it. "Don't touch that." I snapped. "Where's Ryan?" "At David's house." I thought it best he didn't see this. Mark pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages. "You can pick him up later. I've arranged for you two to stay at the extended stay on Richmond Avenue until you figure something out." The casual way he dismissed our 15 years of marriage made my stomach turn. "Figure something out?" "I just buried my father." "Yes, and I'm sorry about that. But you've spent so much time with your family lately, I assumed you'd want to stay with your mother anyway." A mover emerged with Ryan's trophy collection. Soccer championships, science fairs, spelling bees, each one I'd proudly displayed in our living room. The man stumbled, and one trophy fell, shattering on the concrete. "Careful with those." Mark barked, then turned back to me. "Look, I've been more than fair. I'm leaving you the car, and I've arranged for a monthly stipend until Ryan turns 18. Fair? The word tasted like acid. "You're throwing us out of our home while I'm at my father's funeral?" He shrugged. "Timing's never perfect for these things." Through the open door, I could see our walls stripped bare. The family photos, the artwork Ryan made in kindergarten, the mirror my grandmother gave us as a wedding present, all gone. 15 years of memories, packed away or discarded while I held my mother's hand at the cemetery. "Why?" The question came out as a whisper. "Because I can." He checked his watch again. "The movers need to finish by 5. You should gather whatever personal items you want to keep. Everything else is being placed in storage. I'll have my lawyer send you the details." I stood there, watching strangers dismantle my life, piece by piece. The funeral dress felt too tight, suffocating me. My father was dead, my husband was leaving me, and my son's bicycle lay broken on our lawn. Mark's phone buzzed. He smiled at the screen, then looked up. "Grace is waiting. Don't forget to pick up Ryan by 6. He walked to his BMW, calling over his shoulder, "Oh, and Layla?" I kept the good coffee maker. You never used it properly anyway. As his car disappeared down the street, I noticed my hands had stopped shaking. The numbness spreading through my body wasn't grief or shock, it was something colder, something harder. I pulled out my phone and called my brother Tommy. "I need your help," I said when he answered. "Mark's going to regret this. Every single bit of it." The extended stay's fluorescent lights cast a sickly glow over Ryan's sleeping face. He'd cried himself to sleep, clutching his father's old college sweatshirt, the only piece of Mark he'd managed to grab before we left. I sat in the room's single chair, scrolling through my phone, piecing together the past few months like a jigsaw puzzle of betrayal. Tommy's text from 3 weeks ago suddenly caught my eye. Saw M at Riverside Plaza with GP. Looked cozy. Probably nothing, but thought you should know. I'd dismissed it then, too focused on Dad's declining health. GP. Grace Parker. The signs had been there, written in neon, while I'd been changing Dad's morphine drips and holding Mom's hand. My phone buzzed. Tommy. You at that motel? He asked when I answered. Extended stay. Sounds fancier than it is. I kept my voice low, watching Ryan stir. Did you know about the house? Just found out. But listen, there's more. Tommy's voice dropped. I did some digging. Mark's been moving money around, big amounts. And get this, he took out a second mortgage 3 months ago. The room's cheap artwork, generic landscapes in plastic frames, suddenly seemed to mock our situation. How did you? I'm good with computers, remember? And David Clark owes me a favor. A pause. Mark's in trouble, Layla. The kind that makes men do desperate things. Ryan whimpered in his sleep. I moved to the bathroom, closing the door softly. What kind of trouble? Not sure yet. But David mentioned something about investors demanding returns. And there's a pattern of transfers to an offshore account. A memory surfaced, Mark insisting I sign those investment papers, his hand on my lower back, guiding the pen. For our future, he'd said. Trust me. I need proof, Tommy. Something I can use. Already working on it. But there's something else. He hesitated. Mom's asking for you. She's not doing well with Dad gone, and now this. Guilt twisted my stomach. I'd dropped Ryan off at David's house and driven straight to the motel, too ashamed to face her. I'll visit tomorrow. I can't tonight. She understands. But Layla? Tommy's voice hardened. Mark's going to pay for this. Nobody messes with my sister. After hanging up, I returned to the main room. Ryan had kicked off his blanket, his face scrunched in distress. As I tucked him back in, his eyes fluttered open. Mom? His voice was small, confused. When are we going home? Soon, baby. The lie tasted bitter. Get some sleep. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Sorry about the house. Didn't know about the funeral. Grace. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Sorry? She was sorry? The woman who'd helped my husband steal my home while I buried my father was sorry? Another text followed, we should talk. Coffee tomorrow? Just us girls. Just us girls. Like we were friends meeting for brunch, not a wife and her husband's mistress. I started typing several responses, each more venomous than the last, but deleted them all. Instead, I wrote, Starbucks on Main. 10 a.m. Grace's reply came instantly, perfect. So much to discuss. I set my phone down and stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The woman looking back seemed older, harder. Dad used to say I had Mom's eyes, kind eyes, he called them. But there was nothing kind in my reflection now. My phone buzzed again. Mark this time, signed the papers. Grace says you're meeting tomorrow. Play nice, it'll be better for everyone. Especially Ryan. The threat in those words was clear as glass. He thought he had all the power, that I'd roll over and accept whatever crumbs he deigned to throw my way. Because that's what good wives did, right? What good mothers did. I looked at Ryan, peaceful now in his borrowed bed, then back at my reflection. Mark was right about one thing, this was about Ryan. But he'd forgotten something crucial, Nothing is more dangerous than a mother protecting her child. I texted Tommy, "Need you to do more digging. Everything you can find on Grace Parker." And Tommy? "Don't worry about being gentle." Grace Parker looked exactly like her real estate headshots, perfect blonde waves, practiced smile, designer blazer. She sat across from me at Starbucks, stirring her skinny latte with precision, as if measuring the exact number of rotations. "I know this is awkward," she said, her smile never wavering. "But I want you to understand, Mark and we didn't plan this." I wrapped my hands around my black coffee, letting the heat ground me. "Did you plan selling my house while I buried my father?" Her smile flickered. "That was unfortunate timing. But Mark assured me you'd been distant for months. Always at your parents' house, neglecting your marriage. My father was dying. And now he's dead." She reached across the table, her manicured hand stopping short of touching mine. "Life goes on, Layla. Mark's ready to move forward. Maybe you should too." My phone buzzed. A text from Tommy, "Check your email now." "Excuse me," I said, pulling up my inbox. The subject line read, "GP Financials, Urgent." Grace's voice turned honey-sweet. "Mark mentioned Ryan's struggling with the changes. I have some experience with children, my sister's kids adore me. Maybe I could." "When did you file bankruptcy?" The words cut through her rehearsed speech like a blade. The color drained from her face. "What?" I scrolled through Tommy's documents. 3 years ago. Right after your divorce. Interesting timing, considering you just helped sell a house you couldn't legally broker. That's private information." Her voice sharpened. "And irrelevant. Your real estate license was suspended 6 months ago. Something about mishandled client funds?" I looked up from my phone. "Does Mark know?" Grace's perfect posture cracked. She glanced around the coffee shop, then leaned forward. "Listen carefully. Mark and I have plans. Plans that could benefit everyone, including Ryan. Don't make this messy." Too late. I stood up, but Grace grabbed my wrist. "You don't understand," she hissed. "Mark's not who you think he is. There are things." Let go of my arm. "He's dangerous when he's cornered. The money, the house, it's bigger than you know." Her nails dug into my skin. "Walk away. Take whatever settlement he offers." I twisted free. "Funny. I was about to give you the same advice." Outside, my phone rang. "Tommy. Did you see the files?" he asked. "Yes. But there's more. Grace just warned me about Mark being dangerous." "Something about money?" "That's not all." Tommy's voice tightened. "David Clark called. He's scared, Layla. Says Mark's been moving millions through the bank. Client money. The kind of transactions that attract federal attention." My legs went weak. I leaned against a storefront window. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Mark's not just having an affair. He's running a scheme." "And Grace?" "She's not just his mistress, she's been helping him flip properties, launder money." Through the coffee shop window, I watched Grace make a call, her hands shaking as she pressed the phone to her ear. "There's something else," Tommy continued. "Remember Dad's investment account? The one Mark offered to manage?" The world tilted sideways. "No. It's gone, Layla. All of it. The account was emptied 2 weeks before Dad died." My father's voice echoed in my head, "Mark's good with money. Trust him with the accounts, he'll make sure your mother's taken care of." Grace emerged from the coffee shop, her perfect facade crumbling as she spotted me. She hurried toward her car, fumbling with her keys. "Tommy," I said, watching Grace's retreat, "I need everything. Bank records, property deals, all of it." And I need to know who else is involved. Already on it. But Layla? Be careful. If Mark realizes we're digging. He won't. I started walking toward my car. Because his perfect girlfriend is about to have a crisis of conscience. What do you mean? I watched Grace's BMW peel out of the parking lot. Let's just say Miss Parker looks like someone who'd rather make a deal than go down with a sinking ship. And Mark? The rage I'd been containing since the funeral crystallized into something colder, sharper. Mark thinks he's ruined my life. I'm going to show him what ruin really looks like. David Clark's hands trembled as he slid the manila envelope across his mahogany desk. The bank's after-hours silence pressed around us like a weight. If Mark finds out I gave you these. He loosened his tie. My career, my family, everything I've built. I took the envelope. He won't know. You don't understand. These transactions. David's voice cracked. The FBI's already asking questions. Unofficial inquiries, but. How long have you known? He wouldn't meet my eyes. About the money laundering? 6 months. About Grace? Longer. The betrayal stung fresh. David had been at our wedding. Had helped Ryan learn to ride a bike. And you said nothing. Mark has dirt on everyone, Layla. Even me. He pulled out a flask, hands still shaking. Especially me. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Ryan's asking questions. Says Mark promised him a new house with a pool. Should I tell him? I typed back, no. Coming to get him. David took a long drink. There's more. Your father's investment account? Mark didn't just steal it. He used your signature to open credit lines, take out loans. When the feds come, and they will come, they'll look at you too. The room tilted. What? Your nursing license, your ability to work. He finally met my gaze. Mark's made sure if he goes down, you'll burn with him. My phone buzzed again. Mark this time, taking Ryan to dinner tomorrow. Grace wants to bond with him. Don't interfere. The fury that had been simmering since the funeral crystallized into something colder, more focused. I need copies of everything. Already done. David gestured to the envelope. But be careful. These documents, they're not just about money. There are names. Powerful people who trusted Mark with their secrets. Like you? He flinched. I was weak. Karen was sick, the medical bills. Save it. I stood, clutching the envelope. I trusted you with my family, David. With my son. I'm sorry. He looked suddenly older, defeated. For what it's worth, I never thought he'd go this far. Using your father's death as cover to sell the house? That's cold, even for Mark. Another text buzzed. Tommy, Grace called. Wants to meet. Says she has proof of everything. Does Grace know? I asked David. About the FBI? Mark's kept her in the dark about most of it. She thinks they're just flipping houses, maybe some creative accounting. He laughed bitterly. She has no idea she's been helping launder cartel money. The word hit like a physical blow. Cartel? Why do you think he's so desperate? These aren't the kind of people who accept excuses. David's hand shook as he poured another drink. Get Ryan somewhere safe, Layla. Please. My phone lit up again. Grace, we need to talk. Not about Mark. About Ryan's safety. The pieces clicked together, Mark's sudden rush to sell the house, Grace's warning at the coffee shop, David's trembling hands. This wasn't just about an affair or stolen money. My son was sleeping in a motel room while his father played games with cartel cash. One more thing, David said as I reached the door. Mark's planning to leave the country soon. And he's filing for full custody of Ryan. The envelope felt heavy in my hands, weight of secrets, of betrayals, of threats. But something else was building inside me, something beyond rage or fear. Something that felt like clarity. I pulled out my phone and texted Grace, tomorrow. 9 a.m. Same place. Bring your proof. Then Tommy, need you to get Mom and Ryan out of town. Now. Finally, I turned back to David. When the FBI comes? Tell them everything. But first, tell them about the sister-in-law Mark paid to disappear 3 years ago. The one who knew too much. David's face went ash white. How did you? I'm a nurse, David. I know how to keep secrets too. And now? I patted the envelope. I know how to use them. Mom's kitchen hadn't changed since I was a kid, same yellow curtains, same coffee-stained counters, same smell of cinnamon and worry. Ryan sat at the table, building a fortress out of sugar packets while Tommy paced, his laptop open beside him. The cabin's ready, Tommy said. 3 hours north, off the grid. Mom's bag is packed. Mom's hands shook as she stirred her untouched coffee. I won't hide while my daughter fights alone. It's not hiding, I said, watching Ryan's fortress grow. It's protecting Ryan. From his father? Her voice cracked. What aren't you telling me, Layla? Before I could answer, Tommy's laptop pinged. He leaned in, then swore under his breath. Mark's moving faster than we thought. Large withdrawals, account closures. And, he stopped, glancing at Ryan. Hey buddy, I called. Why don't you show Grandma your new video game? Once they left, Tommy turned the screen toward me. Mark's booked 3 tickets to Venezuela. Tomorrow night. Him, Grace, and Ryan. The room tilted. He can't take Ryan out of the country without my consent. He can with the custody papers he filed this morning. Claims you're unstable, grieving, unfit to parent. Tommy's jaw clenched. Judge Harrison signed them an hour ago. Harrison? The name hit like a punch. Mark's golf buddy? The same. Tommy pulled up another document. But here's what Mark doesn't know, Grace made copies. Account numbers, client lists, everything. She's scared, Layla. Says Mark's been getting calls in Spanish, coming home with bruises. My phone buzzed, Grace, he knows I talked to David. Says he'll tell them about my part in it. Please help. Another text followed, meeting at the house in 30 minutes. Come alone or I send everything to Mark. She's trying to play both sides, Tommy warned. No. I grabbed my keys. She's trying to survive. The drive to our old house, Mark's house now, felt surreal. The familiar streets seemed to mock me with memories, Ryan learning to bike, Sunday morning walks, a life I thought was real. Grace's BMW sat in the driveway. She stood beside it, designer suit replaced by jeans and a sweater, makeup smeared like she'd been crying. Inside, she said. Please. The house was empty except for a few boxes. Our family photos were gone, replaced by modern art pieces, Grace's taste, not Mark's. He's going to kill me, she blurted. Not literally. But when they come for the money, when they realize I helped him. She pulled out a USB drive. Everything's here. The accounts, the properties, the names. Enough to bury him. Why help him in the first place? Because I loved him. She laughed bitterly. Or I thought I did. Until I saw what he did to you, to Ryan. Until the threats started. My phone buzzed. Tommy, Mark just landed at the airport. Coming your way. Grace saw my expression change. He's coming, isn't he? She pressed the USB into my hand. Take it. But Layla? There's something else. Something worse. What could be worse than cartel money? The sister-in-law who disappeared? She didn't just know about the money. A car door slammed outside. Grace went pale. Back door, she whispered. Go. I'll stall him. I slipped out just as Mark's voice filled the house. Hidden behind the garden shed, I heard their voices rise. You stupid bitch, Mark snarled. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Mark, please? The sound of flesh hitting flesh made me flinch. My phone lit up. Tommy, FBI's moving tonight. Get out now. Another text followed from an unknown number, Mrs. Thompson? Special Agent Roberts. We need to talk about your husband's connection to the Morales cartel. And about what really happened to Sarah Clark. Sarah Clark. David's sister-in-law. The one who'd disappeared after threatening to expose Mark's schemes. Grace's scream pierced the evening air, followed by a heavy thud. I clutched the USB drive, my heart pounding. In that moment, revenge didn't matter. Justice didn't matter. Only Ryan mattered, and keeping him safe from the monster his father had become. I texted Tommy, get them to the cabin. Now. Then I dialed Agent Roberts' number, watching through the window as Mark loomed over Grace's crumpled form. Agent Roberts? I'm ready to talk. About everything. Agent Roberts' office felt like a confessional box, small, sterile, with fluorescent lights that made everything look sickly. The USB drive sat between us like a loaded gun. Your husband's smart, Roberts said, scrolling through Grace's files. Using real estate deals to clean cartel money. But Sarah Clark figured it out, didn't she? My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Where is she? Dead. Roberts slid a photo across the desk. Sarah Clark's car, crushed at the bottom of a ravine. Accident, officially. But we both know better. My phone buzzed. Tommy, Ryan's asking for you. Mom's keeping him calm, but... Mrs. Thompson. Roberts leaned forward. We can protect you, your son. But we need you to wear a wire. Get Mark to confess. Another buzz. Mark, meeting at the country club. 8 p.m. about Ryan's future. Come alone or the custody hearing gets ugly. He'll know, I said. He's desperate. Cartels breathing down his neck, FBI closing in. He'll talk. Roberts pulled out a wire. You just need to push the right buttons. The country club's parking lot was half empty when I arrived. Mark stood by the entrance, perfectly pressed suit hiding the monster beneath. He smiled when he saw me, that same smile that once made me feel safe. You look tired, he said, leading me inside. Motherhood's aging you. The wire itched against my skin. Where's Ryan going to sleep in Venezuela? His step faltered. Who told you? Grace talks when she's scared. I kept walking, heart pounding. Like Sarah Clark talked? He grabbed my arm, fingers digging in. Careful, Layla. Or what? Another accident? I pulled free. How many people have you killed to keep your secrets, Mark? Lower your voice. His smile turned predatory. You know what happens to nurses who lose their licenses? Who can't support their children? Better than what happens to cartel money launderers in prison. The blow came fast, not a punch, but a shove that sent me stumbling into an empty conference room. Mark locked the door. You stupid bitch. His voice was eerily calm. You think you can threaten me? I own Judge Harrison. One word from me, and you'll never see Ryan again. Like Sarah never saw her family again? Sarah was weak. Like Grace. He moved closer. But you? You're something else. Fighting so hard for a kid who isn't even yours. The world stopped. What? Mark's laugh was cruel. You really thought those fertility treatments worked? That miracle baby after years of trying? He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo, Ryan as a newborn, but with a different woman. Sarah wasn't just my accountant. She was Ryan's mother. The wire felt like it was burning through my skin. You're lying. DNA doesn't lie. Ask your brother, I'm sure he's already hacked the hospital records. Mark pocketed his phone. Sarah threatened to expose everything, take Ryan away. I couldn't allow that. So you killed her. My voice sounded distant, hollow. I protected my son. Like I'm protecting him now. He pulled out custody papers. Sign these. Walk away. Or I tell Ryan the truth about his real mother, right after I tell the cartel where to find your precious family cabin. My phone buzzed. Tommy, FBI lost the wire signal. Get out now. Mark smiled, offering his pen. Tick-tock, Layla. What's it going to be? The papers blurred through my tears. Everything I'd fought for, every moment with Ryan, bedtime stories, scraped knees, first days of school, felt like a lie. But then I remembered Ryan's voice this morning, love you, Mom. I took the pen. Mark's smile widened. Smart girl. No. I dropped the pen. Smart would be wearing a wire that actually works. His face changed. What? I pulled out my phone, recording app running. Say hello to Agent Roberts. The conference room door burst open. Roberts led the charge, agents swarming in. As they cuffed Mark, he called out, he'll never forgive you when he learns the truth. Maybe not. But Ryan would be alive to hate me. And Sarah Clark would finally have justice. My phone buzzed one last time. Tommy, Ryan's safe. Come home. Home. Not the house Mark stole, not the life he'd destroyed. But somewhere new, somewhere honest, even if that honesty might break both our hearts. The courthouse hallway stretched like a gauntlet. Mark sat on a bench outside Judge Harrison's chambers, still wearing his expensive suit despite the ankle monitor. His lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. Ready? Tommy squeezed my shoulder. I clutched Sarah Clark's diary, the final piece Agent Roberts had recovered from the ravine. No. The custody hearing would start in 20 minutes. Mark's eyes found mine, his smile confident despite everything. He thought he still held all the cards, Ryan's true parentage, the forged documents in my name, the debts that could destroy us. Mrs. Thompson. Grace emerged from around the corner, arm in a sling, face still bruised. A moment? Tommy tensed, but I nodded. Grace led me to an empty conference room. Mark's lawyer reached out. Her voice shook. Offered me immunity if I testify that you knew about the money laundering. That you helped. And? I said no. She pulled out her phone. Because of this. The video showed Mark in our old house, raging at Grace. Sarah got greedy, threatened to expose everything. You really think I won't do the same to you? My hands trembled. When? The night you wore the wire. I had my own insurance policy. Grace's laugh was hollow. Funny thing about men like Mark, they never think the women they use might be smarter than them. The conference room door opened. Agent Roberts entered with David Clark. It's done, Roberts said. Judge Harrison's been arrested. David's testimony about the bribes was very compelling. Mark's voice carried from the hallway, what the hell is this? We stepped out to find 2 federal marshals replacing Mark's ankle monitor with handcuffs. New evidence, Roberts announced. Money transfers to Judge Harrison, correspondence about Sarah Clark, and he held up a USB drive detailed records of cartel transactions. Your wife's been busy, Mr. Thompson. Mark lunged toward me, marshals barely holding him back. You think this changes anything? Tell them about Ryan. Tell them how you've been lying to my son. The hallway fell silent. Ryan, who'd been sitting quietly with my mother, looked up. Mom? The word cut deeper than any knife. I opened Sarah's diary, found the photo tucked inside, Sarah holding newborn Ryan, her smile radiant. The same smile Ryan had inherited. Your father's right, I said, moving toward Ryan. I have been lying. By not telling you about how brave your birth mother was. How she tried to protect you. How much she loved you. Mark's face contorted. You bit. Sarah Clark was your mother, I continued, kneeling before Ryan. And she was a hero. She discovered what your father was doing, tried to stop him. Tried to save you. Ryan's eyes filled with tears. But, you're my mom. Being a mom isn't just about blood, buddy. Tommy stepped forward. It's about who reads you stories, kisses your scraped knees, loves you no matter what. She's not your real mother. Mark shouted as the marshals dragged him toward the elevator. She stole you from Sarah. Ask her about the fertility clinic records. I pulled Ryan close, feeling his tears soak my shoulder. I didn't give birth to you. But I have loved you every single day of your life. And if you'll let me, I'll never stop. Did. Ryan's voice was muffled against my shirt. Did my real mom love me? I opened the diary, showed him Sarah's words, my beautiful boy, I'll do anything to keep you safe. Anything. She died protecting you, Grace said softly. From him. The elevator doors closed on Mark's fury. In the silence that followed, Ryan picked up the photo of Sarah. Can I? He swallowed hard. Can I keep this? Of course. I wiped his tears. And I'll tell you everything about her. No more lies. Ryan studied the photo, then looked at me. But you're still my mom too, right? Always, I promised. If you want me to be. He hugged me fiercer than ever before. Over his shoulder, I watched the marshals lead Judge Harrison away in handcuffs, while David Clark handed more evidence to Agent Roberts. The truth hadn't brought revenge. It had brought something better, justice. For Sarah, for Ryan, for all of us who'd loved too deeply and trusted too much. Let's go home, I whispered to Ryan. Which home? Wherever we're together. The small box of Sarah's belongings sat on our new kitchen table, photos, letters, the diary that had exposed everything. Ryan traced his birth mother's handwriting with careful fingers while I prepared dinner, the routine of chopping vegetables anchoring me in this strange new normal. She liked poetry, Ryan said, holding up a worn notebook. Like me. The knife paused over a half-cut carrot. You write poetry? He shrugged, suddenly shy. Sometimes. About everything that happened. Tommy's voice carried from the living room where he was installing security cameras, a precaution that felt necessary, even with Mark awaiting trial. Kid's got talent. Found his notebook last week. My mother appeared in the doorway, arms full of fresh laundry. Just like Sarah. She used to send me her poems, you know. Before. Ryan's head snapped up. You knew her? She came to me first, Mom said, setting down the laundry. About Mark, about the money. I didn't understand then. But she trusted me with one thing. She pulled an envelope from her pocket, yellowed with age. This was for you. When you were ready. Ryan's hands shook as he opened it. A poem, written in Sarah's flowing script. Read it, I whispered. To my son, Ryan began. They say blood makes family, but love makes truth. In darkness or light, two mothers' hearts beat for you. His voice cracked. The doorbell rang. Agent Roberts stood outside with Grace, her arm out of the sling but her eyes still haunted. It's done, Roberts said. Mark took the plea deal. 20 years, minimum. The cartel connections alone. And the house? The question stuck in my throat. Seized as evidence, Grace said. But I brought these. She held out a stack of photos, Ryan's first steps, birthday parties, moments I'd thought lost forever. Found them in Mark's office. Couldn't let them go to evidence storage. Ryan appeared beside me, clutching Sarah's poem. Did you know my mother too? Grace knelt to his level. No, but I wish I had. She was braver than all of us. Mrs. Thompson, Roberts said, there's something else. The fertility clinic records Mark mentioned? They were altered, but not by you. By Sarah. The world tilted. What? She knew what Mark was, even then. Made sure if anything happened to her, you'd be Ryan's legal mother. She chose you. Ryan slipped his hand into mine. Mom? Can we hang Sarah's picture in my room? Next to the one of us? Of course, baby. After Roberts and Grace left, we gathered around the kitchen table, Ryan, Tommy, Mom, and me. A makeshift family built from broken pieces and hard truths. Ryan read more of Sarah's poems while Tommy ordered pizza and Mom fussed over homework. My phone buzzed with a text from David Clark, Mark's asking to see Ryan. Says he has more secrets to share. I deleted it without responding. Some secrets weren't meant to be weapons. Some truths were meant to heal. Mom? Ryan looked up from Sarah's notebook. I wrote something too. Want to hear it? The simple question held worlds of trust. Not forgiveness, we were beyond such simple things, but understanding. Love that transcended blood and betrayal. Always. He opened his own notebook, pages cramped with a child's careful writing. 2 hearts, he read. One gave me life, one gives me home. Both gave me love. Tommy wiped his eyes, trying to hide it. Mom squeezed my hand under the table. The security cameras blinked silently, guarding our new life. Sarah's diary lay open beside Ryan's notebook, 2 mothers' hearts beating through words across time. Outside, the world moved on. Mark faced justice, Grace sought redemption, old wounds slowly healed. But here, in this moment, revenge gave way to something stronger. Not the family we'd lost or the one we'd thought we had, but the one we'd chosen. The one we'd fought for. Ryan continued reading, his voice growing stronger with each line. In his words, I heard echoes of Sarah's courage, his own resilience, and a love that defied definition. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying what hurt you, but in building something beautiful from the ruins.